All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Huddle Time with Ronit. It's so good to be here. I feel like I have missed you guys for quite some time. We took a little bit of break. We're still taking a little bit of break. But for the next few Mondays, we got an amazing program for everybody. Great Huddle Time. We got a lot of new stuff coming up your way, and I can't wait to share with everybody what we're doing. Welcome to Huddle Time with Ronit. And it's so good to be here. For anybody who's coming in just now, it's been a little while. It's 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It is 6 o'clock in Chicago, and it is 4 o'clock right here in sunny Washington State, where we are. For everybody who have not yet to join us for quite some time, as you know, we've been on the road, my husband and I, in an Airstream going from one state to another, from Washington State all the way to Florida, and in between, traveling and meeting so many great people along the way. We have finally finished writing The Profit First for Salon. We wrote The Profit First, and it's coming your way. You can get it right now on Amazon on Kindle, or you can actually pre-order your paperback or your hardcover. Super excited to complete that project. It's been a labor of love to get there, and so I am can't wait for you guys to get your copy. Profit First for Salons. It's been forward with Mike Michalowicz and great people who've been endorsing it. So I can't wait to launch it with you. We're going to have a launch party coming up on June 13th. I'll tell you all about it within the next couple weeks, so you guys can all join us. We're going to do something really unique in that party. But today, I wanted to introduce you to a new guest of Huddle Time, and I can't wait to share it with you. But then before, I'm going to pay my thank you for our sponsor, Americans Beauty Show, that are here have been with us for 2 years now, and sponsor and support us with Huddle Time with Ronit. It's what we do every Monday. Every Monday, we come here with a thought leaders in the industry, thought leaders outside of the industry, helping you create a better career for yourself, a better mindset, a better wealth, and really create a much more joyful and happiness life together. Now, what does it take to do all of those things? Well, you know what? That's what we do every episode. Thank you for Textel, who has been our sponsor as well. Textel is a great program that helps you connect between you and your clients through texting, and have a really great communication with your staff as well. And thank you, so Salon Cadence is a white glove teaching and training company that helps salon and spa owners and business owners grow their businesses from 6 figures to 7 figures, and help you create a company that runs like a machine, that runs and delivers exactly what you need. So thank you, Salon Cadence, Texel, and Americans Beauty Show. And I would love to introduce my really new friend, Drea Hemmer. Now, Drea Hemmer has been a salon owner for almost 14 years. She has her name of the salon is Lunatic Fringe Salon. It is Boise, Idaho, and if I butcher the name, I know she'll help me fix it. She's a certified CIQ coach and author of the new book Intelligent Huddles, and I'm super excited to introduce her, to bring it over and talk about huddles. Hi, Drea. So good to hear you. So good to have you here. It was fun. It was fun being at IG for a couple of minutes. So welcome.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm I'm just inspired to be here. I'm excited to get to be on this hour or so journey with you. And I really believe that our listeners are going to walk away with a lot of gems and a lot of good ways of maybe thinking about things they're already doing and just adding on to what they already know.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I always thought that people always tell me, Ronit, you're such a good teacher. But I think really what I'm really good at is being a student. I think you can never, ever learn enough, right? So it's good. Now, I love to share with everybody, your thoughts. Why did you started to think about creating and authoring a book called Intelligence Huddles? Why I mean, I get huddles, okay? Huddles is great, but why intelligent huddles? What goes behind it?
Yes. Like you said with my introduction, I'm a conversational intelligent coach, and I've been in leadership now for almost 14 years with having the salon here in Boise. And, I think like most leaders, we get into the position and we have a love for it. We love people. And then once you really start the journey in it, there's so much that you realize you don't know. And communication is 99.9%. Any team's challenge comes down to communication. And I found that, and I found it in ways that, again, you can't read in a textbook. It's like you get into the workplace and you start to recognize that things are falling through the crack, that I couldn't relay the messages that I needed to relay to my team, my young new team. And that started to, develop low trust on a team when you are not following through or they're not getting messages. And I could feel that. I could feel that in and on my team. And so as I started to get really curious, I remembered having a workshop with Neil Dukoff. It was Neil Dukoff who wrote my foreword for my book and has blessed the book, which I'm so grateful for. And he had talked about just for a little bit about huddles. And I really laughed. I thought it was like so hokey. And I remembered thinking I would never do that. And looking back, it's one of those things that you've heard the saying, the things you resist the most, you need the most. And that sure did come back to prove itself to me. And so I started doing the huddles, and I've learned throughout my journey of being in leadership and now coaching, not just in my organization, but outside of my organization, that people have heard of huddles. And just like, all of you listening that has tried them, I had so many of them that would fall kind of flat, or I felt exhausted after I had shared. And, you see that the people you're leading, their eyes are a little glazed over. There's a lot of distractions showing up. And I knew that we were on to something, but I knew that there had to be a way to find consistency in creating meaning. And when I started to get the certification of conversational intelligence, it's really centered around the neuroscience of we. So understanding how to find the I inside the we and really connect with each person that you're leading because of the neuroscience. And, our minds are all, in a sense, they're designed the same. We have the same regions in our minds. And when I started to learn that and learn that the mind's universal, I realized if I learned this and learned that words move us to different regions, if I understood the power of the word and how to really open up the conversational space, how to prime the conversational space, how to move it so that knowing like, we've got to talk about victories, we've got to talk about announcements, there's follow-ups, there's goals, but how do I really orchestrate this so that you keep everybody engaged? How do you bring voices in so you're not the only leader that's tellseller yelling the vision, but you're co-creating the vision? And that's when I realized like this huddle is not just a huddle to me or to my team anymore. It's really an intelligent one. It's one that has the neuroscience that is helping me engage every single day consistently with my team. And that's where the title came from, is kind of bringing all my experience into a title in a sense,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I get that, and that's so essential that we start the morning on a great huddle. And then,
Yeah.
like I said before on Instagram, I said it's really important to have a community and a sense of community. And huddle is about community. If you look at all the history and decades of games, sports games or romance history, there always are huddles. Everybody always get together. They gather and then create a plan. And without the plan for the day, you're going to be shooting in the dark. So tell me a little bit about how do you structure a huddle for you, and what time is the best to start?
Yes. So the first part, I'm going to go to the second part of that question first, because I think it's kind of funny. And I read it. I'm just a really curious person. And like you, I'm a forever student. I try to find as much information around research and data relating to the human behavior. And something I came across that, I'd love to kind of dig back through and find it, but it was something along the lines of, if you can start a huddle or a meeting, not at the like top of the hour or 30 minutes into the hour. But if you can move it so it's a little bit of an odd time, it can help your team members really be more focused around it and not run 5 minutes over, but actually run on time. And so I just got really curious, and I thought this would be kind of fun to experiment with my team. So I let them know I wanted to start at the huddles at 8:39. And so every morning we start at 8:39, and it has been, proven on our team to see that people really show up on time. And sometimes it's like, I've read that it was like 40 minutes after they would be, coming in at 45 minutes, just because of the triggers that show up around us. So we start them at 8:39. We do them first thing in the morning. There's different teams that I've worked with where we've had to, maybe do 2 huddles in the day. I've worked to find different resources so that if you have schedules where some people aren't starting all at the same time, that you can still have that participation and make sure everybody's included for the daily vision and the things that we need to know about to make the day run smoother or more successful. So I talk about those things in my book. And that's usually one of the common challenges that leaders have, is like, I'm not, getting all my team there at once. And a huddle will uncover a lot of these blind spots, is what I call them, for leaders, that, you can be having these big goals. I was working with a leader, I still am working with her, where they had, this big goal in service, and they couldn't figure out, like, what was taking them away from hitting that. And when we looked to see how our huddles were doing, the blind spot was revealed, that not enough team members were starting that early in the morning. So they were actually having to turn guests away, paying guests. So it's like, oh my gosh, here it is, just by tuning into the huddle, it uncovered something that the leader really needed to know to change the behaviors to hit that goal. So that was a little side off, but I do them first thing in the morning. And then the second part of, like, what I put into the huddles, one of the things that you hear a lot with a lot of busy leaders is, I don't have time to celebrate with my team. I know it's important, but I just need to make sure they've got the task list and the to-do list. And really, if you think about celebrations, and I said earlier that words move us to different regions of the mind. When we celebrate with one another and we acknowledge other people, we're moving people into the prefrontal cortex, which is where trust resides, where creativity, problem solving, all the things that really create meaning for people, their insight, wisdom. So when I open up a huddle, we start with celebrations. We start with acknowledgments. We start with facings, or aspirations, or another thing that move people to that region of their mind. So that way, when we're there, then we can start to trickle in the things that need a little bit more of that strategic thinking or problem solving, because we've got them in a place where they're already starting to feel oxytocin and they're bonding with one another. Oxytocin is the bonding chemical. When we're in that part of our minds, is what's being released. So, we think about these type of things, and when you really start to embody them, you start to see more come out of your team. You start to see them really want to be excited about coming to the huddle.
Absolutely. And I think that whenever you introduce something new, so if we're introducing a huddle time to somebody new, right, in our team, or a salon owner wants to introduce that, they have to first understand what is the importance of having a huddle. Why is it so important? And I like that you brought an example of the blind spot of that they found out. I mean, I will tell you, I ran my huddles in the morning, obviously. And I actually changed my schedule of all my, staff member to come at the same time, because I felt like it was that important to set up the present. Obviously, as you grow and your team grows, and now you have 50 or 60 employees, you can split huddles, or even have people join in Zoom. So if you're not there, they can join today via FaceTime or via Zoom. Now, let's talk about the structure. What do you want to cover? How much of a time do you give to huddle?
Yes. So 12 to 15 minutes. That's the time frame that we have. And then, first thing, we go into acknowledgments, aspirations, then we go into goals. So, what is the vision for the day? What is projected? And then what does the team think that we can actually do on top of that projection? What are their best ideas? And then as they go into setting that measurable, tangible goal, then we talk about what are the focuses, what are the behaviors and best practices that we would need to show up and perform like in that day to hit that number. And then what are some of the things that we need support in? So finding out, like, where are some of the parts of the day that maybe some of your team members are feeling a little anxious around? So we can talk about those things as well, so they can say what those things are. And then as a team, we can start to understand how we can support that person in that part of their day. And then we move into more of if there's some education or anything that they need to know about. So again, a little bit of some announcements. And then we end with a piece of magic. And that's really just a fun way to know that the huddle is coming to a close, and to also gather the energy that we just cultivated together, and then move out onto the floor and start the day with this, understanding of what we're all going for.
I love that. And do you guys keep any kind of documentation through the week or through the goals per week? Do you set up goals for the week? Do you set up goals for the day? Do you celebrate anything during those huddles? I mean, are there supposed to be like an army huddle, a football huddle, or are they a salon huddle? Like, what is the vibe that you're looking to actually get?
Oh my gosh. Well, they're fun, they're energizing, and they also have that like, serious factor in them, because time is the most valuable currency. We can't get more of it, and we can't get it back. Even the richest man or woman alive can't buy more time. So I think that's important for leaders to understand, that we have to make sure that these are really filled with, all the feels. I mean, those emotions are important. We do celebrate. And the thing about doing consistent huddles is, we set the goal, and then the next day we come in and we celebrate where we were at. If it's that we need to recover, we go into that facing, acknowledgments, and then we talk about the goals and where we need to recover because we didn't quite hit it, or we're a little off for our monthly goal. We bring in our monthly goals. We talk about what is the weekly projection as a team. So, Monday's huddle, they know the weekly projection, and then we track it throughout the week. We celebrate it at next Monday's huddle, but those daily goals are always being, set and tracked with what are the projections on the books. And then where does the team think that we can actually go in and add more on, if that's where their feeling is there's things that aren't maybe tracked on those goals that they can actually talk about. So yes, absolutely, celebration and understanding where you're at, so you know where you want to go. And the team needs to know that. And I think that's another reason why I wrote this book, is one of the number one reasons why people leave an organization is because they can't see the vision. They don't see the growth or see where they're going to go. So they start to look elsewhere. And a huddle keeps that vision alive. It's not just talked about in a monthly meeting or a town hall. It's talked about daily. And everyone involved knows that everything they do matters, that their participation, that how they show up, what they contribute, it's going to be acknowledged, and that it is valuable.
Absolutely. I think that today, where do you find that today more than any other time, it's such a big need to recultivate the huddle. I mean, I think it's everybody hears about huddles, but I hear a lot, but we don't do huddles.
Mhm.
Where should we start? Should we start 2 days, 3 days, 5 days? How can we have everybody show up to huddle and participate? So I think a lot of people are afraid
Mhm.
of introducing something new to their staff for the one reason of being rejected.
Yeah.
And it's a big fear to be rejected, but at the end of the day, if you don't try, right, then you can keep going, you can move forward. And I think it's important. So what do you think is the biggest fear that for a business owner to start huddles, and why?
Yeah, I love this question. I did write about it in my book, that the mindset of the leader is the most important, that needs to be prepped as you're taking in a change. I love to encourage leaders to continue to create these changes in their organization. Change is constant, and we have to continue to evolve and innovate. And the biggest fear I do see is like, a lot of times they're like, well, my team, their schedules, they don't all show up. And I always encourage them that it's important that we meet the business's needs first, and then we can meet the needs of others. Because if the business's needs aren't being met, there's going to eventually possibly be no business. So that's the most important. And so I think you're right. The fear is that they're going to get pushback or they're going to get rejection. And you are, because change is hard for people. But if you are really unwavering and you have your reasons why, and this is another thing I talk about in the book, is starting to understand the aspirations of those on your team. What are their personal aspirations? What do they want more of in their life? And what do they want life to bring them more of? And when you start to understand what it is that they're going for, you can start to see that this work-life balance is going to interconnect, that the things that you want to change and make better in your organization is actually going to help them get closer to having those aspirations become their reality. So it's really about starting to understand like your why in this. And I believe that aspirations are our why. So starting with the leader, what is it that you're going for in your business? What is it that you aspire to continue to see the growth and the evolution and the legacy that you want to leave behind? And when you start to get really clear on that vision, you'll start to see what behaviors need to come in that are going to support the vision and what competing behaviors need to go out so that you don't lose the traction that you're trying to gain. So
And
that would be it.
and we talked about it the other day, you and I. We had a little conversation about how things are shifting so much right now. Like we talked about, people are moving from one salon to another, or there've been such a transition of positioning. And we feel that there's very difficult, you hear a lot about difficult times of hard to find new employees, or how to find the right staff members. And when they come in the interview for they maybe work with you for a week or two, and then they're gone, or they don't show up to an interview. And so we talked about that, like what can we do to switch the thinking around it. And I, we have to be, I feel like, okay, we have to take that under consideration, that there is a challenge right now around the world, of hiring and recruiting and maintaining. On the other hand, I always would like to bring it to the world, that to the universe, but there's no better time right now to have the opportunity to create exactly the company that you want to lead. There's no better time. You can, so be careful what you're telling yourself and the stories that you put to your head. Because if you're going to tell yourself all the time, it's hard to hire, it's hard to recruit, guess what? This has not been any different than what it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and 5 years ago. But what have you done different to change all of that? Nothing. So what can you do now to change? And one of the things that you can create is a fun huddle. When you do recruit, when you have somebody new on board, it's such a wonderful thing to share with them that you have huddles every morning.
Yes.
And why do you have huddles every morning? And what's the huddles does for the team? And when you share that with somebody who's just joining your team, immediately they will feel welcome
Yes.
and
Yes.
comfortable, right?
Yes. I love that you're bringing this up right now, because there's a couple of things I want to speak to. I know for all of those that are listening, we have all went through, a lot of change, and it's been hard. There's been a lot of hard things that have shown up these past couple of years. And the couple of things that I had to keep telling myself is, I've made it through 100% of my hardest days. And so have all of you. We are resilient. Human beings are resilient. And so, I say flip the script, because there is so much greatness, and through disruption, or when things are really hard, there is opportunity. You just have to start to focus on it, because it will be there. And one of the things that I loved about there's one thing that I loved about our culture. There's so many things, but during the pandemic, we were forced out of our place of business for 53 days. And when I started to get word of this and knew that we were going to be shutting down, I had my team members, they were coming up there. At this time I had 20, I think 26 team members And they were coming up to me and they were like, what are we going to do? And some of them were really scared. Some of them wanted to keep working. It was kind of this like polling of all these different emotions that you could see what's happening on the team. And so we decided, to keep our culture safe and to really support psychological safety, we shut down a couple of days before we were actually forced, because I needed to make that decision to keep my team safe. And the first thing I said to them is, you know what? We are going to meet Monday through Friday at 9 o'clock or 8:39 in the morning, and we're going to do our huddles. We're going to come together. I've got Zoom all set up for you guys, and we're going to continue to connect and answer, celebrate, answer any questions you have, and make sure that you're safe and supported during this time. And we can give you those live updates. When we opened our doors 53 days later, we didn't lose one single team member. They all came back. And I that's another reason why I wrote this book, is it was like, I have to help leaders and organizations, because there is a way in these hard times. There is a way. Right now, we're a week out from opening the dream salon. We're expanding. We just are going into a place that's twice the size that what we've been in for the past 10 years. So, we're going from 18 stations to 25 stations, and 5 front desk girls to 6 and 7 front desk. And it's just been something that I can honestly say that what is keeping people attracted to wanting to come and be a part of it is the culture, is the community, is the psychological safety, and the ritual that we have kept in place that we have not wavered from is the huddle. I mean, we're a system-driven company, so there's a lot of systems that support, the consistency throughout the day. But this huddle has been the one thing that has really kept people wanting to come back day after day after day. And another thing you said that I love is, those new team members, they come in and they're proceeding with caution. They're in a very conditional or low trust frame of mind. They don't know what they're walking into. And when the mind detects uncertainty, those are a lot of threats that it's picking up. So we go into fear-based behaviors. And the first thing I can do with a new team member is I guide them in. I help them feel comfortable, and I bring them into this sacred circle, and we invite their voices in. We let them share. We let them hear from the other team, so that right away they can start to sense that this is a safe place, and they start to open up and participate rather quickly. So
Yeah.
I love that you mentioned that, because so much of that is why I wrote this
It
book.
is. It's important, and I think that it's so nice when a new team member walks in, and maybe do a little bit of get to know you game in huddle time, or you have the icebreakers in huddle time. You can make huddle time be amazing, right? It's huddle morning. It's so much fun. I've always enjoyed it. People enjoy it. You can make it a fun games in it. There's so much to do in it. I mean, the biggest companies in the world function on huddle. And so I don't see why we don't do that. And it's time to just incorporate some new things. Now, I know you have so much in you to share with the world, in our business and our beautiful industry, of a lot of, what's emotional intelligent we're going through right now. What should we be, how should we be leading a team that has been, you know, has challenges. I'd love to get into all of that, and I would love to have you come back, and we can maybe have a mini series on the teaching of a team run company. But if we can give one great tip
Yeah.
to all the business owners out there, and I really want to say business owners, because I feel like, we as salons should stop thinking that we are salon owners.
Mhm.
We need to think of self as business owners. And we also have to embrace the fact that we are leaders, and we are in the business of to empower our members to be leaders. So not just us, right? And then, but there's a lot of pain, and there's a lot of confusion, and a lot of growth. Even when you grow, you have pain. Um, on your experience, what are maybe one or two tips that you can share with anybody who's going through changes? Um, what is why still being in this business? Why it is the best business there to be with? And what do you need to do as a leader in a company to make that more enjoyable?
Yes.
For
Oh my
you, for you, not for the staff members,
Yes.
for you. Yeah.
I love this, and, immediately I just looked at myself, like all the things around me right now, but, get to understand yourself, put those rituals in place, those mindfulness practices. I am very big into journaling and meditation, and I think it's so important because in those times when no one is watching and we're just getting quiet and we're learning how to quiet our mind, we have the ability to do that when we go back into the workplace. And leadership, it takes stamina. It's a lot of hard work, and you're guiding and you're directing, you're cultivating and you're growing people. And it's so important that you really learn about yourself and give back to yourself so that you can give more to others. And I found that having these mindfulness practices, I'm able to become more resilient. I'm able to become, a better problem solver or decision maker because I can stay calmer longer under stress. And that really is, emotional intelligence. Is being able to manage those emotions moment by moment. And when you can start to self manage yourself and self regulate yourself, you have the ability to then start to manage others and regulate others. So it starts with self, just really getting to understand yourself, put those rituals in place. I think about Headspace is a great meditation app that I started with. My goal is a company, Migals. They have a progress journal that I absolutely love, that I can, download my thoughts in and get them in front of me so that I can have more clarity. And I think those are the biggest challenges as leaders and business owners is we don't take time to slow down, to go fast. We just try to keep going and going and going. And it takes a lot of discipline when you are, a leader and a business owner, because you usually are a really driven, you're a driver. And so taking that time to really, pause and get quiet and be alone with your thoughts and start to understand, more about who you are. It's, to me, that's where empowerment lies. And your people recognize it. They want to be around people that are very calm and can stay calm under pressure longer. That's very attractive, and I think that would be my best advice.
Yeah. I love that advice. I think that's two great or three great tips, you guys, that got a really three great gems. And with that, I'd like to add to it, we all growing something. We're seeding it, we're watering it, and we want to see it grow. And then, things happens to it. And so it's normal. It's normal. That's what business is all about. But if you really want to come from a very strong foundation, you want to build a good culture, it is super important. And I agree with you, Drea, that you need to have thinking time. You need to
Yeah.
have creative time. And I'm not talking about at the chair. I'm talking about if you want to grow a company from more than two or three or four staff members, you have to start looking at yourself as a CEO of a company, not a CEO of a chair. You got
Mhm.
to start thinking about, how can I deliver on my promise to grow my team members? Because at one point you have to step out and say, okay, I have responsibility to my staff. Sure, for my clients, but for my staff, it's my responsibility. How can I deliver empowerment to them? And you cannot do it unless you spend time on designing and wholeness and just really be in the calm zone. Show up from that, um, but you need time for that. So take time. Take
Yes.
time. If you're going to be working 40 hours out of your week, make sure that at least 20 hours of it is working on your business and on your staff. And I think that that's the one thing we let go the very first beginning. It's like, oh, let's take another haircut. Let's take another color. Let's take another thing. And then what happens? You just bind yourself into no time again,
Yes.
So time is an essence. And I think that's my tip to everybody here today that is listening. Time is so important. So
Oh, it's so important. You know, there's something you said that I want to just, add on to if I can. And it's so important, I think, to understand that there is this difference between owning a business and being a leader, and fall in love with, one or the other. If you're the business and you're the numbers, and then make sure there's someone that's leading your team, because they need a leader. And I've seen many, salon owners and business owners that their role is to, be over here because their strength is the producer. They're the producer. However, the ones that I see that make it really successful for both is they find someone to lead the team.
I
So
love that. Thank you.
yes, yes.
Thank you for bringing it up, because that is really the key. The key is to multiply yourself
Yes,
in different areas of your business. If, like you said, if you're a producer and that's what you love doing, you like to be doing, do it.
yeah,
Don't leave that zone, but make sure you have a team lead that leads your team, or
yes,
that leads the numbers, or leads the operations, because in only to grow without you know struggling, you need to have a team that has their specialties in every area. I mean, look at this. Every company has director of operation, director of marketing, director of development, sales,
hmm,
right? And then you have the tier of the service providers. Well, it has to be the same in a working environment in a salon.
gosh, I agree. So, I think even in our space, my husband he is business. His degrees in business, and he really is the behind the scenes that makes sure that we are successful and we're viable and we're profitable. And my role is the culture and developing the people in the interpersonal skills and in their technical skills. And then I brought a director of education in, and now a director of this. I mean, and you really, it is so important that you do not try to wear all the hats, because you can only do so much and you can't be good at all of them. So, find the strengths in your team, find the untapped talent on your team, and start to bring them in, and you'll see again that you're going to have more longevity, that you're going to have less turnover, because people want to continue to develop and grow and make a difference and make bigger impacts. And this is a great way to do it, is to, develop together and find and put them in those places that makes it better for everyone.
I love it. So for anybody here who is dying to read Intel, I just ordered my copy yesterday, so it's
Yes.
going to be here this week. Super excited about that. For everybody, go to Amazon Intelligence Huddles. You can order as soon. The audio is going to be available as well, which is awesome.
Mhm.
And now, one last question.
Yes.
What is your favorite book? If you could recommend maybe even three books for everybody to read. What do you read for fun?
Oh my gosh, well, it's so funny. I have, Daniel Goleman's by
Right.
me, Intelligent, Emotional Intelligence. I love books. I love leadership books and human development and spirituality. I love it all. One of my favorite books is by Dr. Wayne Dyer, Power of Intention. That's one of my favorite. I love the Four Agreements. Don Jose Ruiz, his dad wrote it. Don Miguel. I did a lot of work and study with them, and they're amazing people. So, and then, of course, my book I love, but I do love Conversational Intelligence is another book that I keep close to me. But I love development. I don't read anything that is not nonfiction. I'm very much, that's just what makes me tick and keeps me inspired. But those books, Emotional Intelligence, Conversational Intelligence, Power of Intention, those are some of my most favorite books. There's a book out right now too. It's been out for some time, called Altered Traits, and it's also by Daniel Goleman, and
Mhm.
it talks about how we can reshape our mind, and really what mindfulness and meditation does to our brains and how we process information. So that one I'm still reading right now. That's one of the books I'm involved in, and that's been a really great book, and is helping me help people move past those limiting beliefs, including myself, because we all have them, right?
Absolutely. Always. They
Yeah.
never, they never leave you guys. Um, absolutely, absolutely. Well, there's a lot of great books that have been just laid out. I love the book Take the Lip. the leap, because I feel like sometimes if anybody wanted to know what is their biggest strength and what strengths they should play with, that's a great book. Identify what's your strength. So if you ever think about, well, what am I going to do? What should I focus on? And what you're not great at on, you absolutely need to recruit that other side of yours, right? It's like delegation is not about delegation. It's really about empowering other people to take what they're very good at. So in order to grow a company. So I love that book that just really gives you an intuition on what you should focus on. What's your zone of genius instead of zone of excellence. So have that. Well, thank you so much. We're coming up to our time. Drea, this has been so super lovely. I hope you guys enjoy. I know you guys enjoy. You got so many great tips here. Huddle time is where it's at. I mean, I can't say it anymore. Huddle time is where it's at. Guys, you can find that book. You can order and pre-book Profit First for Salon. No matter how great culture you're going to have, no matter what location you have, without the right cash flow, none of this is going to be sustainable. So invest in those two books. I will see you guys next week. Andrea, can we maybe do another one sometime in June?
I would absolutely love that. And, I also wanted to add my website. They can get the book off. There's a link on my website, dreahemmer.com. And then also my Instagram. I put a lot of this stuff on there at Drea Hemmer. So there's a way that they can get more information. And I would be honored to be back in June. I appreciate all that you do for this industry. You have been such a light to get to be a part of and learn. I mean, we are new friends, but I hope to continue to cultivate greatness in the future.
Fast friends, and
Yeah.
absolutely. And thank you for doing what you're doing. And all the information that you guys have is right here on the chat. Come and visit Drea Hemmer, be our friends, and we'll see you next week. And Drea, don't get off. I'm just going to say goodbye to everybody and still be here. Bye,
Great.
everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.